Okay, hello and welcome to today's webcast. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com, and joining us today is a pair of presenters to speak about Dynamics AX 2009 to 2012 upgrade best practices. Our speakers are Eric Finver and Adil Eddy of Visionet Systems, an IT business solutions provider based in Cranbury, New Jersey. As we get started today, I just want to add a few notes. First, we do welcome your questions and comments, and also we recommend using the Q&A block that you'll see on the right side of the screen. Eric and Adil have a lot of very helpful material to share with you, and they also do plan to leave time for questions at the end. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome today's first speaker, Eric Finver. Eric, are you there? Eric? Eric, I am not hearing your audio. I'm not sure if you're maybe on mute. I'm not, and if anyone else can hear me, maybe there's another audio problem. Can anyone else maybe in the chat just let me know whether they're hearing me or not? Okay, we might be having, oh, you can hear me, okay. Eric, we might be having an audio problem with you. Perhaps we lost your line. Adil, do you want to maybe jump in here and get started in his place? Adil, can you hear me? I've taken your line off mute.
Hi.
Okay, great. Yeah, we seem to be having a problem with Eric's audio right now. So do you want to maybe bring up the slides and get started?
Sure.
All right, great. Sorry about that, folks. We are, but here is Adil Eddy.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the problem. That's basically Eric's, thing to introduce us and obviously to the organization. But I'll obviously give a quick introduction to Visionet and obviously the agenda for today. We will be covering, obviously, after I give you a bit of a background about us, who we are, what we do. Obviously, we are Microsoft Dynamics AX Gold partners. Then I'm going to jump into directly to, obviously, our topic, which is the upgrade from the earlier versions of AX, which is 2009 4.0, to the latest and the greatest 2012 R3. Also the, how you should upgrade, the planning for upgrade, the different options available, what code upgrade is, the data upgrade is, a bit of an idea about, how upgrade works, what is basically the process of upgrade, what tools are available, what are the best practices, and obviously, the upgrade methodology that one needs to follow. So this should give you, after the presentation, you should get a fairly good idea about how upgrade, obviously, in AX 2009 from 2009 to 2012 works. And obviously, if you're interested, we can definitely, give you some more information later. Visionet Systems. I just want to ask, obviously, everyone that if anyone is having a problem, then they can just obviously type into the chat, or if there's anything wrong with the audio, just type into the chat, and then we'll make sure that it's fine. Okay, so Visionet, we have been in the market for long. We established ourselves in 1995. A global organization with 3,000 employees. We have got 2 offices in the States. We are in the UK, the UAE, and obviously, a lot of resources in India as well. The back office offshore resources. We obviously dealing with a lot of different organizations. We have to get ourselves certified in terms of the processes and the ISO, the CMMI level 3 certification, etc., etc. In terms of professional services, we're actually doing ERP consultancy, SharePoint integrations and developments, all types of different platform integrations, as well as the BI and the analytics. We've also done projects of e-commerce, CRM, mobility. So there's a lot that we do. Professional services is obviously one major chunk and one focus area for us, where ERP comes into play. And then when we talk about the ERP, Microsoft Dynamics AX is what obviously we prefer, and we are one of the partners doing it. In terms of support services, obviously we are doing the support services, ongoing support, maintenance contracts, SLAs, the customizations, upgrades, configurations, etc., etc. We have got our own testing centers and quality assurance skills as well. We do have 24/7 help desk support services in terms of for infrastructure for all sort of AX support as well. So obviously for global organizations who actually require that kind of services, we do have that arm and legs for that as well. When you talk about, so we have been doing a lot of investment when it comes to AX. We have built our own PLM solution for the apparel and footwear, and now obviously we are working with the CPG sector as well. We have worked a lot extensively with the retail and the supply chain business intelligence solutions based obviously using the native Microsoft technologies, which is SharePoint, SQL, and AX. We have built a couple of products, and we are working on them for the social commerce and for retailers as well. So, one of the major focus vertical areas is obviously retail, as you can see. So now, obviously, this is where I'm basically supposed to start. I'm not very good at giving the introduction to the company, so, being very technical and functional guy. So why the upgrade? Everyone, obviously, that's one of the, depending on who you are, whether you are a consultant or you are an end user or basically you are a CIO of an organization, you obviously need to have an answer to, why the upgrade. You need to know the reason. You need to have, obviously, upgrade is not something which can be done overnight. Obviously, it requires certain effort. Is there any return on investment for that? Is there any value that you're getting? That is something obviously that you need to keep in mind. One of the first 3 points is basically to give you an idea, because these are the things that we normally don't look at. But if you are still using the AX 3.0 and 4.0 version, the 3.0 has already expired. So that means that obviously Microsoft will be discontinuing the support, whether it's from the Microsoft or the partners. And, this is obviously the way it works. But even the extended support, which basically Microsoft gives after the mainstream support, has been expired for 3.0. So that basically, if you're still running 3.0, it's really now the time that you need to look into, what the next version is. Obviously, it's 2012.3. If it's 4.0, the time is also near. Or obviously, there's any kind of support not available. It's basically a sign that we need to move on to the new version, and obviously the functionalities as well. So the new modules and functionalities. It obviously the operations. If you're talking about 4.0, 3.0, 2009, for sure these got implemented a couple of years ago. A lot of companies implemented these solutions probably more than 5 years ago. So at that time, AX probably did cater for the operations and everything, the requirements. But when you have got a solution, when you have implemented the solution, couple of things you need to keep in mind, that the operations requirements keep on growing, the reporting requirements keep on growing. Obviously, the more data that you have in your system, the more analysis information which you require. So are those needs ending? is the business or is the organization which was there 5 years ago, is it still the same? Are the operations, the needs are still the same? Probably not, and that's most probably it's not the case, and that's why obviously the new functionalities, they take care of, they basically add on to the basic functionalities which were available in the previous version, whether it's retail or process manufacturing or even the service or the project businesses. Um, so, the R3 is basically adding that value to the operations. That's the return on investment. If you're basically able to carry out, process manufacturing as well as discrete manufacturing, or you are able to, because Microsoft has actually, focused a lot as well as on retail. So, if obviously you're in retail and you're still not doing or following the new trends or taking care of the omni-channel concepts and the multi-channels and all those things, then you're probably way behind, the times. And it's basically the system that is needed to support these kind of changes in the organization to grow in the organization. Other thing is obviously, everything is going mobile. So are you not planning to? Are you not planning to go to to invest in business intelligence? And obviously, certain return on investment points also come into place where, you actually see that how much customization has been done to the existing system and what exactly is the new system going to, give you out of box, which was customized. Because obviously the maintenance of that code, the support and everything does require all those. That's basically the additional cost that you pay as an operation cost, which basically is the ROI that you get. So in fact, in the previous versions, it was not even possible for process manufacturing in one AX system to have process manufacturing as well as the discrete manufacturing in one, at once. But obviously now it's possible. The process manufacturing was there as a separate model. You had to buy a lot of different modules, and in terms of technicality, it's called modules that you had to integrate to AX. But now, obviously, it's part of the one package, that you're getting. In terms of user experience, security, extensibility, there are huge changes, and obviously, we cannot go in much detail as to the exact functionalities which are available, but obviously, there are white papers available, giving all sorts of information. So obviously, once you have decided to do the upgrade, or once you know that, okay, well, I want to upgrade. Upgrade is giving me certain benefits. There's obviously certain modules that I would want to implement. How should I go about that? You need to know what is involved is in the upgrade. It's not something that you can do, like I said, overnight. It's not something which doesn't require efforts. Yes, it does. There's depending on the age of the system that has been implemented in the organization, there's going to be a lot of complexities involved. So there's obviously an upgrade process, which basically involves 4 major steps. I'm not talking about the analysis and the testing and the user acceptance. It's more to do with the steps of actually doing the upgrade, where you're taking your system A to system B, which you'll be using. And those 4 steps are basically the pre-upgrade, the code upgrade, the data upgrade, and the production upgrade. So the pre-upgrade step obviously is basically about the planning. You need to make sure that the upgrade is planned. You have taken secure backups of your environment, and everything that you do is basically in test. We'll obviously go through the process in detail as well, but generally it's recommended that you perform these upgrades in test environment at least 2 to 3 times. Only then you should be taking it to the live to ensure that it's properly done. Obviously, in the planning part, you need to also keep in mind that it's not just taking one system from from A to B. It's also about what exactly do you want to not carry to the new system? What is the new functionalities or modules that you want to use? What are the new features that you actually want to make use of? And along with your consultant, along with the partner that you're working with, you need to properly document those things. If there's obviously you can also take this upgrade as a chance to bring changes to the processes. When you obviously are implementing the 2012, there are certain enhancements to the processes and changes to the existing processes that will need to be made. So all those sort of things need to be done obviously in advance before you actually jump into the code and the data technicalities. And the code upgrade is it's mainly to do with mostly to do with the your custom code. So obviously, if there is no custom code, or then there is no need for a code upgrade. That really doesn't exist. There's obviously custom code out there. There's custom reports, etc., etc. There is a checklist available, and that needs to be followed to upgrade the code. Once you have done that, then you obviously jump into the data upgrade, where you are obviously taking all the data, cleaning it, making sure there is no inconsistencies, going through the checklist, verifying it one by one, and taking it to the live or the new environment. And once you are done with all these things, once you have actually changed or documented the new processes, you have done a couple of code upgrades and data upgrades as well in tests, you've done all the data verifications, then you move on to the the actual production upgrade, where you're going to the live system, the new system, and there's a checklist that needs to be followed. What Microsoft has actually done is, they have made it simpler in a way that it's a wizard-based thing. We could not think of ERPs actually being implemented or upgraded through a wizard, and that's what Microsoft has changed. Microsoft has, that's basically the process that Microsoft has introduced. That there's a checklist that needs to be followed, and if the checklist is followed, then there's a highly chance that there won't be any issues with the upgrade. Obviously, depending on the complexities, do depend on the data issues. If there are a lot of different problems with the data, then obviously those needs to be fixed. And the code upgrade, if there's a lot of customizations which obviously is not being redundant in 2012 and has to be taken to 2012, then that has to be done. Like I said, I've obviously talked about when you're actually planning the upgrade, you need to document the processes. So you need to know what's changing. It's definitely it's basically an opportunity for the organization as well to actually get better in terms of processes. What is there that that previous version was not able to probably give us, or it's something that it didn't cater for, and we never we kept it manual. Now obviously that can be automated, so there has to be new process. Whether it's the sales order, if I talk about for an example, the warehouse management. The warehouse management is much more comprehensive, detailed, with mobile solution, etc., etc. Now you can obviously take this as an opportunity to go to that level, and that is why there's obviously a need for proper documentation. To lay down the processes before you actually give the new system to the user. And obviously the best practices, as always, there is a sure step methodology, like implementation methodology. There's obviously an upgrade methodology as well. That upgrade methodology defines the roles that will be involved in the upgrade, the different activities and the tasks that will be upgraded in the upgrade, and it is basically used to ensure the minimum risk and to ensure the right output, the desired output from the upgrade. So upgrade options. When you obviously, so 2012 is flagship product, that's a new product. people actually getting interested in it. There are actually three different ways or three different types of upgrades that actually do happen. Or and obviously the first one, which is the source to target upgrade model, which is generally the common one, which will be there, where you are actually and it's used if you are actually using the older version. You can use that's the one that you will be following, because the other one, in place one, is basically from the is if you are actually using 2012 RTM or 2012 P1 or 2012 R2, and you want to move to the latest version, which is R3, you will basically be using the in-place method of upgrade. And that one, is mostly a technical upgrade where it's in one box. You don't need to have a lot of hardware for it, and everything gets transformed on the same system. So it's more of a very lower level of upgrade effort required, which because you will be getting to the new system from the new version and be able to use the new system, the new functionality. Source to target upgrade model is basically the one that if you are coming from the different versions, earlier version, which is 4.0, 3.0, 2009, that is the one that you will be using, where you need to have a set of hardware requirements. There's a set of hardware requirements for that. There's a the step-by-step process of how the code needs to be upgraded, how data needs to be upgraded, because obviously we do know that things have changed completely. If we talk about the chart of accounts, we talk about product category hierarchies. The category hierarchies were never there in the earlier versions. They are here now. The product structure and a whole lot of things. The dimensions. There was a limitation with dimensions. There's much more flexible financial dimensions functionality now. So obviously all that needs to be converted, and all that needs to be mapped. Yes, there is a process, there is a step-by-step guide for it and walkthrough procedure for it, but that's need to be done, and that's why there is a concept of source to target, where one system becomes a source, the other one becomes a target. Source system, you do all the pre-processing of data and code in the source system, and then in the target there's post-processing, where you actually take the data. So, and then obviously after the processing in the source system, you actually take the data and then put it in the target system. In the target system, you actually do all the transformations from the source to the target, and obviously it basically then goes live. Yes, the new version, what it does is, because in the earlier versions, why they say now is that the upgrades are much more feasible. Because in the earlier versions, what used to happen was there had to be a great downtime where the system had to be upgraded. So, for example, obviously, if I'm upgrading the system, if I'm upgrading the data, it takes me, for example, to do all the test runs and everything, a couple of weeks. Now, I can't just take that and move it to the live server, because obviously during that period of the time where I was doing the upgrade or the pre-processing or the converting of code, there must have been a lot of transactional data for that period that needs to be moved on to 2012, right? So now obviously what they have done is, in the new version of the upgrade, there is basically only 20% downtime required during the time when you're actually doing all the pre-processing of the code, and it's done in parallel to the actual system. So you don't need to worry about if there's going to be a whole lot of lag that needs to be entered, or how that will be taken care of, because that was basically earlier, which they have actually taken care of. Obviously the third option is, which is also is being used by a lot of companies which are actually doing the upgrade, and this was basically the one. This is how usually the upgrades were done in the earlier versions, because of the downtime issue that was faced in the source target upgrade model, which is obviously not there anymore. But restarting is more to do with doing fresh implementation, where if you're, and this one is more to do with when you have got a lot of issues with the data, a lot of issues with the existing custom code. There's a whole lot of things that basically that you wouldn't want in the system. And on the other hand, you actually want to change the complete functional design. If that is the case, if you actually are taking this upgrade, and there will be a lot of companies for sure, if you're actually taking this as a restart of your, to put a reset button, you will basically do a standard implementation of Info, and then download all the data, at least in the very layman terms, you will basically download all the data in 2009, do the different, which is basically the master data and everything, take that master data live into the system, by, if there are obviously any problems, you sort that out manually, you take them to the new system, and then you don't take the transaction, you take the balances. That's basically one of the reasons why some companies are okay with it, because if they have only implemented the solution just recently where they don't mind having another system for the previous data, and they can actually run with the balances for the previous information, they don't mind going back to the old system to obviously query any information. But in case obviously, and in the BI system, in the business intelligence system, you can obviously get all sort of consolidated reports for your previous historical information as well. But this is something which is I would say a negative point, where you actually, if you do a fresh implementation, you don't get the whole data, the transaction line by line, item level information, or the transaction level information for the new system. But yes, it gives you a clean slate to actually just think out of the box and think where you can actually improve the processes in the system. So the code upgrade. When you go into the code upgrade, just want to give just refresh. Obviously, when you bought these systems, you were probably told it's a layered architecture and in AX. So just want to give a refresher of what these layers are. And obviously, why do they matter is, first of all, why do they matter over here is because before it's a best practice, and obviously it's recommended to ensure that the code which belongs to the customer specifics, should be on the customer layer. The code that belongs to an ISV solution, or it's by a minute. I think my screen keeps on. Okay, never mind. Just bear with me if it keeps on going to the next screen. I'll just put it back in to this one. But if there's any code which belongs to an ISV solution, it's not on the ISV layer, that needs to be there. The reason why is because the recommended approach is to, obviously, when you do the code upgrade, is to go one by one. You try to resolve each and every layer, and then you go to the next layer. So, once you know that which code belongs to which layer, then obviously it's much more easier. In case of any vertical solutions, if you have, you will need to obviously work with your partner to upgrade that solution. In case, obviously, you are not using in terms of, let's say, for shop floor control or process manufacturing, a lot of different vertical solutions are out there in the earlier versions, which probably will not be needed in the new version. They may not be needed. I'm not always saying that they'll probably be needed, or if there's no need for them to be taken, then obviously there is no point of upgrading that code. But obviously, if you're taking that vertical solution to your next upgrade, you need to obviously work with your partner. Maybe they have already launched the solution, or the new the same solution with the 2012 version. Otherwise, if obviously there's no support available for that vertical, you have to have that code upgraded as well. So these are the different layers. There's a user layer where all the different user code, all kinds of different settings, personalizations, and all the changes that you make on screens are basically at the user layer. a lot of different codes is also, a lot of jobs that you make, for ad hoc reasons. They may have been made. They probably lie at the user layer. Custom layer is basically all the customizations that are basically done for a specific customer needs. And obviously, it's a best practice for any partner to have all the customer code on that layer, which makes it very manageable. And the WAR layer is for all the the value-added reseller code that was provided to you. Same as with obviously the ISV. If you go down, obviously there's vertical solution. Then the rest are basically reserved by Microsoft, because obviously Microsoft has got a system layer, and then there's a standard layer, then layer for regional functionality. Because for some regions, there's obviously a lot of different regional upgrade as well in 2012. We talk about Russia and China and a lot of European countries, and especially obviously US, where the payroll code has been updated drastically. So for that, obviously all that will exist in the regional functionality. Yes.
Your audio is getting a little patchy at times, so if you could just make sure to move sort of at a slow enough pace,
right,
so that if we lose any words, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So the code upgrade, when you talk about the code upgrade, it's basically, most of it is because it's a manual code, it's a custom code. There is no one single tool or the click that you can actually just put in the code, and because obviously that's what the customers want, and that's what everyone wants. We wish if we had that kind of a tool out there, but because obviously it's custom code, it needs to be upgraded and according manually by obviously technical consultants. However, there are certain tools or the best practices which are there. There is a white paper which I've given link to over here. It gives you it talks about how to upgrade the code, what not to do, what are the to-dos of doing that, and then obviously there's a code upgrade checklist which is also there. When you talk about the design pattern, AX2012 has very detailed documentation of how they have actually done the designs, and what are the design patterns, and obviously the benefits of using those patterns is because obviously one is it gets easy to upgrade. Then obviously you are that's the best practices. You will get the least amount of errors when you're obviously doing the upgrade. So there's a whole lot of detailed help available within the help or TechNet and the white papers and the checklist that Microsoft provides. But essentially, it has to be done by the technical consultant manually. The code upgrade, why? Okay, so why? Obviously, there's a benefit of like I talked about these tools. Why? What is the benefit of that? It's because obviously if there's a certain way, whether it's UI, whether it's any kind of design, architecture design or framework, or code changing any level of making change of any level, there is a suggested pattern, or there are suggestions available. So and when you obviously use these tools to actually upload your existing code, when you upload your existing code in that tool, it actually gives you all the conflicts that exist with the 2012. So you don't have to go through the line by line code. It's not that you need to redevelop each and everything that was done when the code was being designed, when the custom code was being written. It's only the conflicts that need to be resolved, and this is where obviously the tools actually make it much more efficient, and the code upgrade is much more effective. Obviously, when you do the code upgrade, the first thing which you need to think about, and this is what the business users obviously come in, where a lot of reports, a lot of different inquiries, a lot of different functionalities, they were developed and probably used as well in the beginning, but they are not being used at the moment. So if we actually try to limit, this is one of the best practice to try to limit what we want to take to the new system. If it's for sure, it's not 100% that is being used. A lot of reports are developed, a lot of different functionalities and inquiries are developed for specific users, set requirements, and those requirements do change. Not just that, when you're actually going to the new version, it's not just the requirements, changing. It's also that the requirements being met by the new 2012 version out of box. So if that is the case, you don't need to take the code to the new version. If there's a bit of a change management or change requirement needed, then obviously that's the way to go forward. Like I said before, the best practice is to do the lowest layer upgrade first before moving to the next highest layer. You need to work with your ISVs and value-added resellers in case of you actually having their vertical solutions, because for sure, if they build solutions, they also there's a message, right? Okay. There's a question that will kind of, I'll obviously get into the questions as well later. But the third parties, when I talk about the third parties, I'm actually talking about the partners who are there. These tools, obviously, whatever AX is providing or whatever Microsoft is providing in AX, any tools, they are all extendable. So it's not that if Microsoft has obviously given an upgrade tool or a checklist, if there's anything that is missing and the partners who are actually doing the upgrade on a regular basis, they actually kind of do, there are partners who are actually improving those tools. So you can obviously work with those partners, and obviously when we do the upgrades, we kind of face these certain scenarios or data issues or code issues which are basically not handled out of box. We're on these tools, so that these are the kind of extensions that we make to cater for all those rare cases as well. The upgrade and dependency order. So this is a bit of a technical where you actually you need to make sure that you are actually upgrading your enums and the EDTs and the tables and the code and then the UI. If you obviously a simple example is if you try to update the UI without upgrading the tables and the code, it basically won't work. So and if there's anything, there's any information in the table which is basically being fetched from the enum, and all the master tables that needs to be, any extended table, those need to be upgraded first, and then then basically the children. So one thing that we obviously, one of the best practice or one of the things that basically I would recommend that should never be done is delete the data dictionary elements. So we have tried to do implementations and upgrades where there were companies where they didn't want to take all their companies to the new system, or they wanted to limit certain information. It's never recommended. It should be done because there's a lot of data and there's a lot of information which is obviously shared, and once you actually delete the elements of data from the data dictionary, from the tables, you kind of get into the trouble of actually trying to fix those issues which have been caused by those data deletions. So there is a way where you're actually marking these tables as the delete tables, and there is a workaround and there is an alternate approach to doing that. But obviously, just going out and deleting those tables, is basically not the right way. Data upgrade. So that's the most important one, because data is something which is very much critical. One thing obviously that we need to look over here, that if you're still using 3.0, then there is no direct upgrade path from 3.0 to 2012. Like I said, because the support has been expired, and so probably even Microsoft won't be actually will be a bit reluctant in looking into that if you want to do the upgrade from 3.0 to 2012. But obviously there is a way, which is a two-step approach. You actually do the upgrade from 3.0 to the version available, which is either the 4.0 or the 2009, and then from then onwards you actually do the AX 2012 upgrade. So this is basically the kind of methodology that is generally followed in Great Plains and the other solutions, where you actually go from you do the upgrade version by version till 4.0 and 2009. There is obviously a direct upgrade. So if you're in 4.0, you still are lucky you can do the direct upgrade to 2012. But if you're in 3.0, you'll have to go through two upgrades, where you're actually doing the upgrade from 3.0 to the one of the earlier versions, and then from there on to the 2012. How basically the data upgrade works is, if you can see over here, it's stated that there's a state transfer tool which is available. So what you do is you actually do pre-processing of your data, which is your live data, and you do that in the copy of your production environment. So when I was talking about there is no downtime, this is how you actually are saving downtime, where you're actually taking a copy of your production and you're running all the pre-processing, you're running all the different mappings, you're running all the the checklist where the chart of accounts need to be mapped. Okay, all the different errors where, for example, there is a transaction or a specific item that exists, but it doesn't exist in the inventory table, which is the master table. So all those different kinds of errors will be thrown and listed by the AX automatically, and those need to be fixed. But once you're actually doing it, you need to do once you are done with it. You've successfully done one pre-processing of data. It is very much recommended that you do it at least 3 times. Like it says over here, that you do it once, and then you do it twice, and then you do it twice. You basically will be doing it more than 3 times, because there will be certain processes or steps where you may get stuck, and you will probably be restarting the whole pre-processing step. That is why one of the recommendations is also to take backups. And then obviously, if you have done a very solid and one stable data upgrade on the production copy in test, you basically, when you want to do it second time and the third time, you can use the state transfer tool, where you actually you can transfer from one state to another, from the saved state to the exactly the same state to the new, obviously the Delta system. And what happens now is, so how is it that basically you are actually avoiding the downtime, and also making sure that you're not leaving any Delta data, is by doing these multiple different test upgrades. So once you do it, you actually take the transfer, you move it to the new version of the copy, then you do the Delta upgrade, then you do it again. By doing it 3 times, you basically have done it enough to take care and consider all the different possibilities of code data issues which are out there. So now, after you do it, after you're doing it 3 times, once you do it again, you will use the state transfer tool, and then you will only do it for the remaining Delta data, which is obviously during the last upgrade point. And so obviously this brings down the downtime to the 20% of what it actually used to be. And once you're actually doing, and why is it that? Because it actually throws you to a single user processing. what happens is when you're actually doing the live upgrade, all the users their access is blocked and it goes to single user processing where only one user is allowed to enter the system. So you cannot have a lot of different consultants working on the same system. It will only be one user actually doing the processing. So the rest just have to actually sit back tight. Some of the best practices for the data upgrade, as you can see, the last one, which is the most important one, there's a reason why obviously Microsoft has given the checklist and the upgrade methodology is for everyone to follow them. They have to be followed, and there is a reason why there's a step-by-step process. Is basically it's because it caters for all the different dependencies that exist in the data. When the second one, the database backup after each step. This is very important. You don't want to end up actually resolving all the issues and not taking the backup and then going to the next step where you actually are trying to resolve and you get stuck and you have to restart the whole process. Then you would have to go back and resolve all those issues which you probably have actually spent a lot of time resolving them. So, and a lot of time it's not just about resolving, because data is tedious task. If you have a lot of different items, if you've got a lot of different unit of measures, there's a huge chart of accounts, then just going through each and every line and doing the mapping is obviously tedious. So you don't want to do it again and again. Like I said, you need to at least plan full test runs, 2 full test runs, obviously including the original one, which makes it 3. So prior to running the live upgrade. Okay, the upgrade readiness, you should only perform the upgrade readiness after the end-to-end. So, this is one of obviously the best practices, that once everything is done, then obviously, do the upgrade readiness where you should have a checklist or your own checklist of how to ensure that my data is correct. And, all the users which are working on the system, based on the daily use, they know that, where, what information should be and, what it should be. Whether the items are right, whether the coding is right, whether the unit of measures are right. You need to have a certain checklist which should be followed to do the upgrade. It's a must recommended to use the state transfer tool. Again, you don't want to, because if you want to have a low downtime, if you want to be able to reuse the good work that you have done, you should be using the state transfer tool. There's a lot of, during the upgrade, we also find a lot of issues with when hardware is not sized properly. So we actually don't consider hardware, but hardware does play a very important role in this upgrade situation, and it needs to be properly sized for, depending on obviously the documentation provided by Microsoft, and obviously there is performance analyzer and CPU profiler to ensure that if there's anything that needs to be checked, even after actually putting in all the performance, all the hardware that you have. One thing there is when you're doing this upgrade, you will find a lot of issues with the data, depending on obviously how much data is there, how much of mess has been made with the data. But what it does is, because obviously it can debug, you can actually just, obviously using the technical expertise, you can debug each and every checklist job that exists, that where it's actually taking you to, where it's actually, throwing an error. Why is it the reason? So you don't have to worry about one limitation. One limitation is that the error handling is not too friendly. So a lot of times, for more, there is very good error handling for all the known issues. But when it comes to data, and when it comes to a specific customer data. There are a lot of issues that may arrive, which are not very common, which are very specific. So for that, there's not much of a very good error handling where it tells you, this is the line number which has issue and you need to fix that and all. It gives you a very high level error. Over there, you need to actually just go and debug the code and see where it's actually throwing the error, and then you can resolve those issues rather than actually trying to find out from the front end. So debugging the code actually makes it much more faster, and that's where you probably need good technical to do that. If you we know that now Oracle is not supported, Oracle database. So in the previous versions it was. It's probably because it is because the reporting is on SQL, where there's out-of-box business intelligence, which is based on SQL. So Oracle needs to be migrated first to SQL before actually doing the upgrade. So before you actually do the upgrade, you need to actually migrate all the Oracle your database to your SQL, to the new SQL database, using obviously in the old version, and then you actually move on to the version upgrade of application. Again, do not first leave behind companies. Personally, tried it myself, doing it a couple of times, and it always ends up with certain errors when you're trying to purge something, when you're trying to purge some data. It's just that it's not an impossible thing. It's just you get into a point where you're trying to resolve issues just because you actually left some data behind. Again, obviously, so these are some of the best practices when it comes to the data upgrade. One of the last things, obviously, I wanted to talk about is the upgrade methodology. Right. So upgrade methodology is very, it's basically giving you an overview or summary of what we have talked about, and which involves basically the planning and the scoping. Scope also matters. Sometimes a lot of customers, they might actually say that, okay, well, we are upgrading and we want each and everything right away. Or there can be a scope that where you say that, okay, let's do the technical upgrade, which is more of the code and the data upgrade, and then later on we will move on to using the new functionality. So it all depends on what the scope is. It has to be planned accordingly. The ideal way is to obviously do the documentations at least first. So do the analysis, do the design, do the process documentation of based on 2012. You don't have to actually jump into the upgrade. You can do a POC deployment of 2012 and try to explore it and try to map the business processes, try to get a bit of understanding of what 2012 is giving you, or obviously you can rely on the partner or to give you that information where what your existing optimizations are, what the existing processes is, and they can obviously help you with identifying exactly how it should be in 2012. Once you are done with that, once you have the whole scope, then obviously you can divide it into phases of what needs to be done first, what needs to be done next, and what customizations need to be left behind, what customizations we need to take forward, etc., etc. Whether we need to do re-implementation, whether we need to do upgrade. Re-implementation is fairly simple, and it probably does not require as many technical efforts as upgrade, but obviously you will lose data. So it's very and obviously, if you know that your organization has a lot of problems with the data, a lot of problems with the code, leaving the code behind is not an issue, but leaving the data is probably a very major decision. So that needs to be discussed. Then obviously there's code upgrade, there's data upgrade. You need to work with your value-added resellers, the ISVs, if you've got the vertical solutions. And then obviously you do all the execution and testing. So this is basically it. When there is execution, there are errors. There's resolution to those errors. Backup is very important. Just taking screenshots of those errors and taking just noting down, making a proper documentation of all the resolutions is very important. You will be taking so when you're actually resolving those errors, one point that I actually want to make, it's not just the consultant or the the functional or the technical consultant or the developers or the architects which are required in the upgrade. End user is very important because a lot of decisions that need to be taken in order to resolve those errors which are related to data. Sometimes you actually need to build some data. You need to have certain master records entered into the system. You need to probably just clean some, change some data, clean some data. You need to make certain changes to the system. You need to make certain mappings from A to B in the system, and it's all related to the user data. So business users need to be involved. Yes, obviously with proper care that and they need to be properly told why the change is required, what the issues are, and the decision needs to be taken by them. And obviously documented, because later on, if there's anything that obviously that did change the data, then there's a proper documentation for everyone to refer to that what actually has changed in the system or the data. Then obviously there's a lot of testing needs to be done based on, obviously when it comes to data, we can do based on the totals and then do these the sampling of the information. There's a lot of you can do the test scripts. If you've got data verification, validation, that scripts can be made to obviously console or verify the data, because obviously if you've got both the data in SQL, scripts can be written to verify data from 2009 or 4.0, 3.0 to 24. Yes, application lifecycle is just an overview that application lifecycle is also there. Microsoft is is very much focused into providing this the BPM tools and the the step-by-step process where and the tools and the enhanced tools and the the basically the guidance to ensure that the successful implementations and upgrades. So obviously now the application lifecycle has also got an upgrade methodology and upgrade process where you can do the business process modeling. You can do the license estimation because there's obviously a change in the licenses. Before you were on the CAL-based, the user license has changed. Its name user licenses, it was concurrent user licensing, which was there before. So you probably may need to buy more licenses, or you may not. So you need to do that kind of estimation as well. Also, there is also a code analysis or upgrade analysis tool which is there online. So when you actually take the AOD files, you take the XPOs and the code, you upload it, it gives you a list of all the conflicts that exist which need to be resolved. So basically, it's a helping hand in the upgrade, which is available to the partners as well as the customers. Just to give you an idea of what it is, but I'm just going to skip through it. This is how it looks. You can basically, it gives you the process, and it gives you, these traces of, what is right, what is not, each and everything. Tables, the classes, the forms, the enums. It's a very friendly and very, it's basically an awesome tool for, all the consultants and everything. Okay, I'm going to leave this right here, our contact information. I'm going to have a look at any questions which are there. In any case, Jason, is there anything that we can answer?
Yeah, why don't we Why don't we, I'm just going to close out your screen there. It'll make it easier for folks to enter their own questions, I think. And we can put the contact information up in the panel, okay?
Okay.
So let's do that. And we do invite you to ask your questions. We have a couple in the queue right now, and let me just bring up that contact information again, so you should now see that. So a couple of people were asking this question, Adil, just asking about access to the slides that you've been presenting today. And now that you have your contact information up there, is that perhaps the best way to request those?
Okay.
If people want the slides? Adil, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I had an issue right there. What were you saying? Sorry.
So there have been a couple of people asking how to get access to a copy of the slides.
Okay. So yes, we can definitely they can provide us the information, the contact details, and we can definitely give them the slides. Obviously, there will be a recording available as well, which Jason can send the link to all the attendants. So obviously,
right. We will be sending an email update when that's available too. So
but
please stay tuned for that.
If there's specific people who actually requested for the presentation, then we can obviously send it across. After we're done over here.
We have a question from Manish who asks, what is mainstream? And I think he means what is in the mainstream right now.
So, it's basically, it's not much of a difference in the mainstream and the extended support as such. It's just that, Microsoft, whenever this is basically by Microsoft, and Microsoft is, there's a cycle which generally is of 10 years. Where Microsoft actually, stopped supporting the version of the product, and the extended support is basically just to ensure that it's basically for the customers where they have actually decided to move on to the new version, and Microsoft is willing to provide support to the customers who. The additional support just in case during the conversion, basically. So there's no asset support difference. Whatever support you're actually getting from the Microsoft, it will still be the same. But it's more to do with the customers who have obviously decided and committed to Microsoft that they want to move on to the new version. Then during that phase, this is the extended support which is provided. It's basically for those companies. There's another question that I can see. The upgrade tools provided by the Microsoft freely. If you are so obviously there is no as such cost of the upgrade tool. It's all available out there. You have to be either a partner to have access to it or an existing customer to have access to it through the customer force or the partner force.
Okay, well, we'll make a last call for questions here. And otherwise, I think we could probably start wrapping up, Adil. So thanks so much for speaking with us today. Again, the session has been recorded. We'll be making it available in the next day or two, and we'll keep you all updated on that.
All right.
So Adil, thanks for presenting today.
Thanks, Jason.
All right. Thanks everyone for attending and for the questions. And I look forward to seeing you again online. Have a great day.